So let's now turn to our panel of alums. So maybe we can start by asking each of you to introduce yourself. And we'll do that maybe by asking you what you did prior to joining MIT, where you went to school, maybe what you studied. If you did have full-time work experience, you can mention what that is. And then you could tell us a little bit more about what you're doing now. So we can just use this slide to kind of go down the line. So Anka, would you like to start?
Great. So hi everyone, I'm Anka, also known like my full name is Angesti. I'm half French, half Spanish. I studied mechanical engineering at Imperial College London. I didn't have full-time experience, but I did have some internships. So I worked at Tesla, Bloomberg, Amazon, and then decided to join the MIT MBAN program. So I graduated last year. I'm now an alumni and I'm working as a machine learning scientist at a startup in New York that's called Arena AI, and they just do like AI solutions for companies essentially.
Excellent.
To meet you all.
All right, Emily, you're next.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily. Like Anka, I just graduated from the MBAN program in August. But before the MBAN, I did my undergraduate at Cornell University. I'm also from New York, so this is my first time living outside of New York. Before that, I did not have any work experience, but I did do an internship at Regeneron, and now I am a data scientist at Dynamic Ideas, which is like a I guess you'd call it like a boutique consulting company.
Excellent. All right, Angel, your turn.
Hi everyone, I'm Angel. I'm a current student, class of 2025. I'm originally from Shenzhen, China, down south, right next to Hong Kong. So prior to MIT, I work as a data scientist at a tech startup in Boston area for 1 year, focusing on real estate machine learning applications. And before that, I did my undergrad at Bentley University with a double major in data and math. Really nice to meet you all.
All right, thanks. And Brittany.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany. I'm part of the MBAN class of 2023. And before coming into the MBAN, I similarly came straight from undergrad. So I was doing my major in statistics and minor in data science at the University of Virginia. And then since graduating from the MBAN, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, working as a data scientist for Visa.
All right. Well, thank you for those introductions and sharing a bit more about your background. To start, let's talk a little bit about the community within the business analytics program and the greater MIT Sloan community. So I recognize that as a prospective applicant, it can be quite intimidating to think about joining MIT. The class profile is very impressive. You hear these stories and see exposure of MIT in the media, and it can be intimidating, especially as a woman, to think about becoming a part of this community that's very technical and very quantitative in nature, and sometimes not necessarily true, but sometimes can be stereotyped as this sort of cold, cutthroat kind of place. So my first question is, can you talk about your experience or how you were able to get yourself involved in the community or the culture at MIT Sloan? And anybody can take it.
I guess I could kick off because since I have more current experiences, and I guess all of my fellow M bands could jump in later. I know that Jen mentioned that there will be a certain level of technical rigorousness to the program, but I would say don't shy away from the technical nature and the challenges that will be facing you. There's a very strong community at MBAN, and also in the bigger part of like outside of MBAN could support you along the way. So definitely take advantage of all kind of opportunities, ask questions, seek out support to grow with each other. Like within my current cohort, there are people with a lot of different mixture of backgrounds. Some people are more they love and good at theoretical math, and some other are programming geniuses. So definitely lean on each other, learn with each other, and benefit from each other's skill sets and grow with each other.
I think part of what we're trying to emphasize with students and the way that, the work is introduced or expected to be completed is that we bring people together with a diverse set of skills and with complementary skills. And, together, you have the tools to succeed where, if you were just alone as an individual, it might be more difficult to develop all those skills. So maybe we could talk a little bit about, working with a team of people on some aspect of the program where you had to work alongside people who you felt were really different from yourself. Again, anybody can start.
I can speak of it. I know that a lot of people, like you said, then like they have so many diverse experiences. They come from very different backgrounds, whether that's like their undergrad degree or whether that's the country that they were raised and like educated in. And I feel like that really shows when we're working on group projects where you can see that some people are much better at like brainstorming ideas and like coming up with new solutions. Other are much better at like just being like product driven and like implementing and driving like action, and others are more about like making sure that everything's like quality wise in a good state. And I feel like all of those contributions from different people and different mindsets really helps to like drive, even when we were doing projects, like drive a project forward and really like make it successful. I would say like this program isn't made for you to just come on your own and like do it all on your own and succeed on your own. It's really about like finding what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how can you find people that complement those and work together to achieving like really good outcomes in work, homeworks, whatever.
Sounds great. Could you talk about, an example of a memorable, course that you took or a memorable story about one of the faculty members that, were either teaching or supporting one of the initiatives you were involved in?
I'm just wanted to build on something that totally agree with everything Angel and Anka have said so far. I think that one of the best examples of this is the A Lab and the capstone experiences of the MBAN. That's one of the reasons that the program's so wonderful, is that we actually get real life opportunity to provide value to organizations through analytics. So in the fall, students will have the opportunity to team up in pairs or groups of like 3 to 4 students, and they're partnered with a host A Lab company. So throughout the duration of the semester, they'll be doing a project for that company. For me, it was working with Visa, definitely helped me get to my current position. And then, of course, there's the capstone experience where you have your partner, and you and your partner are doing essentially like a summer internship for a company that you're also partnered with. And so in both of those situations, you're working with, ideally 2 different companies. You're working with a small group of students in your cohort, Anka and Angel have said, you're working with students from many different countries. That's one of the things that drew me to MBAN, is just the pure diversity of background of the cohort. Getting to talk to people who have had different background experiences and life experiences was a lot of fun and really makes the experience very rich. But I think those 2 project experiences basically help us to translate whatever we've been learning in the classroom at Sloan into real projects. And I think those really help to stand out.
Excellent. All right. Maybe we could talk a little bit about, some of the activities you may have gotten involved with as a student at MIT Sloan. So, actually I have another slide here that talks a little bit about, some of the clubs that are focused on women's initiatives at MIT. I don't know if any of you were involved in any of these things, but, regardless, whether you were involved in any of the, women specific organizations at MIT or any organizations at all, can you talk a little bit about how you were able to get more involved in the Sloan and MIT community?
I could say something about that. Yes, MIT Sloan does have a variety of a support system for women. And as we can show in here, there are a lot of dedicated clubs for like identity and, professional setting or, just hobby based. Me currently, I'm involved with quite a different clubs, and I'm actually serving as the president of community at SWIM, Sloan Women in Management. And we did a lot of fun events throughout the year. Like for example, weekly speaking series that we got to network and talk to excellent and brilliant women in different industries, not just in data science, but also, like consulting and business and a lot of different domains. But also I got to meet some of the other like very achieved Sloanies out there that are not just very data scientist focused. I met this person from SDM who has been a tech leader and engineer lead at Airbus for 10 years. And I met like a woman who's also like a submarine officer. So I really got to meet a lot of people outside of my original bubble. And we enjoy a lot of fun events together. 2 weeks ago, we have this orange wine tasting event, which is my very first time legitimately tasting wine. So there are a lot of fun events out there and a very great supporting system, making Sloan and MBAN such a welcoming and inclusive environment.
Excellent. All right, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about resources to support you in finding, work or helping to support you in your career. So, our attendees may be familiar with this already, but we have a dedicated team of career advisors that support MBAN students from, having regular sessions. We call them career core sessions, or, building the tools and the skills that you need to set yourself up for success for recruiting, not just for the job that you get after MIT, but for your entire career, and how to think about kind of networking and emailing and, what it means to work in different industries. But we also have lots of different industry clubs and lots of different, conferences and organizations across MIT's campus that help to give you more exposure to industry through some of these student-run organizations. So my first question is, can you talk a little bit about how you may have worked with Tracy or any of our career advisors to help support you in your career search?
I can start.
Okay.
So like you said, we have like an amazing team of helping us with careers, especially Tracy. I remember that in fall semester, they really prepare you to just like get ready for like career applications and stuff in spring semester. And so that will cover everything from like making sure that your resume is like on point, and like your LinkedIn and all of those like tiny things of like how do you interact with someone new, like how do you present yourself, which can sound like very easy things, but when you actually get to the moment, having those skill sets and like those tips and tricks really help and make a difference. I would say one of the biggest one of the most helpful things for me at MIT was the number of networking nights that we had. I think I've never networked as much as throughout MIT year, which was really useful in like getting to know people, getting to, even if it's not like to recruit, like to work for them and their company, it's just getting to know what they do and figuring out, is that what I want to do in the future, and like is that the path that I want to take, is that the industry that I want to work in, is this the job that fits my needs and skill sets. And so having that opportunity to network with people through like, I don't know, we had analytics nights, we had capstone events with companies, just bringing so many people together and giving us that opportunity to talk and meet new people was really amazing.
Excellent. Anyone else want to touch on any of the things they might have gotten involved with or worked with Tracy on?
Yeah, Tracy is just the best, like cannot emphasize enough. She's given us so much good advice, like Anka said, about, anything from, etiquette at career fairs when talking to recruiters to little tips and tricks for your LinkedIn as we approach, more of the job search in the spring. So she's been super valuable throughout the program. In addition to that, I also wanted to add that MIT and Sloan specifically have a very supportive network, especially with alumni. And so, for example, they've always had these events such as Sloanies Helping Sloanies or Sloan-wide career fairs, where not only can you interact with other MBANs, but more or less you're talking to Sloanies from the MBA or the MFin, so other programs as well. And there's just this really supportive culture at Sloan, and that's something that's really nice about it. In addition to that, any Sloanie or MBAN is likely to be, on a whim, able to do an informational interview with you. So if you're looking for jobs or just exploring different industries in the spring or earlier, most alumni will just pick up the phone or hop on a quick call with you. So the culture that we try to foster at Sloan is really wonderful and supportive. And so definitely take advantage of all of the career opportunities at MBAN through Tracy and that support, but also the wider Sloan community can also be super valuable.
Awesome. All right. Well, now that 3 out of the 4 of you have kind of launched into your career, can you talk a little bit about, something that you learned during the course of the program that, has been able to help you to succeed in the work that you're doing today?
I guess I can start. So yeah, I work at Dynamic Ideas, which is one of Professor Brutsimus's companies. For those of you that don't know, Professor Brutsimus kind of helped to found this program. So he has a big part in all things MBAN. But something that I find interesting with my day-to-day like tasks is that I'm really getting to apply all the technical skills that I've learned throughout the year. So all the machine learning and optimization, kind of getting to do both, which is really cool. But on top of that, I'm also interacting with clients and stuff. So that kind of goes back to what everyone was talking about with Tracy and the networking events, just getting comfortable talking to people who might be higher up or people from different backgrounds and industries. So just getting to apply both like the technical and the soft skills in my job every day has been really rewarding.
Great. Anyone else?
I can go. So in my case, I didn't really have any like business analytics, data science background at all. I had come from a purely engineering background. And honestly, this was the opportunity to just discover a whole new world that I hadn't been introduced to previously, the whole like business analytics, data science, AI world. And without this program, I would never have been able to like get the job that I'm in right now, just because I didn't have any of the skill sets required. So for me, this program is really useful in just getting you up to speed with everything that's happening right now, especially now that like AI is just like really evolving super quickly, and it's hard to like keep up to date with everything. I think it's like the perfect time to join a program like this, and it was super valuable for me to be able to like just even access the industry.
Excellent. All right. So, before we turn over to the audience Q&A, and I'll ask, if everybody could type in their questions in the Q&A, and then we can, I can moderate those questions live. The one last question I'd like to ask each of our panelists is, sometimes at these events, of course, telling us a bit about your background is important, and it's great to share, your background with the audience and prospective students, but we're never able to provide enough, enough to prospective applicants about what do the current students in the class look like? What are some of their backstories? So, without naming names, I'm hoping that, each of you could just share a story or a bit about a background of another female student that was in your class. So, you could just share, what was it about this individual that kind of impressed you? And, any kind of, background story, where they went to school, where they worked, the country they're from, anything that would be kind of relevant to, helping prospective applicants to gain a better understanding of who they might be sitting next to in class. And so, if each of you could just share like a tidbit about, one of your fellow Sloanies. So maybe Angel, I'll start with you.
Yes, quite a lot of individuals just jump into my mind. It's very hard to pick one, I would tell you that. I would say this person E is one of my closest friends in the program currently. And she's graduated from Tsinghua University, which is the best university in China, studying physics and math before joining MIT. I am particularly impressed by her background, as in quite a lot of us do not share, like data science or pure machine learning knowledge before the program. He hopped into this field, to this program without that background, but still be thriving. So I'm like particularly impressed by that. And also I knew her from her prior story, as in industry experiences. She worked in quite a lot of different domains, from social media company to like fashion, etc. And how she been like maneuvering through different industry and trying to shovel down into the places where she eventually wanted to be. That's particularly inspiring for myself.
Exciting. Thanks. Emily, how about you?
Yeah, this is also a hard question for me, and I can't say Anka because she just introduced herself, but I guess someone for me, like early on, that I thought was like, I guess inspirational is our classmate Julia. So she had 2 years, I believe, of work experience versus I came straight out of college. I had like pretty much no work experience other than like an internship here and there. And she was probably like one of the most outspoken people in our class, and she really inspired me to, ask questions and like stand up for myself, like even if you might feel scared to like ask questions to like a important speaker or like a professor. And on top of that, just working in projects with her or working on homeworks with her, she was really good at kind of thinking from a business perspective, like what is the impact, not just like the nitty-gritty technical details. And I guess for someone like me coming straight out of undergrad, it's good to collaborate with people with different work experiences, maybe people that are older than me. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And Brittany.
Yeah, I think in my class, one of my classmates definitely had an unconventional experience. They actually had gone to undergrad studying pre-health and then had gone through medical school. So they actually did have a medical degree, and decided to transition totally into the world of tech and data science. And so I think, that's just one example of, even if you have very diverse backgrounds of what you're studying, if you are interested in data science and you think you could really work hard and, come to Sloan and commit yourself to it, anything's possible. And they did amazingly in the program and now are working at a biotech in Cambridge. So I think it's just one example, and they really enjoy it and can even use their previous bio knowledge to improve analytics in that field. So yeah, just another example.
Awesome. And Anka, how about you?
So I was thinking of a girl who came from like a more complicated background, like more family issues, or like the country where she originally was from was having some struggles. And what impressed me the most is like despite having that more like not unfortunate background, but you guys know what I mean, just like not as an easy path as other people may have. She like fought for herself and just like achieved, like aimed to achieve the biggest thing like you could try to get, which is like an incredible university in the US, like this one, like which is a really well-known program. And just getting in, like interviewing, not being afraid to like aim high, reach high, and getting through this whole year is just very, very impressive for me, like what someone can achieve. Never be afraid, and like, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to the Q&A. So I can see a couple people are trying to use the raise your hand function. We just to keep things kind of streamlined, we're going to ask that everybody type their questions into the Q&A, and then we'll do our best to get to everything. So the first question is about does Sloan offer any type of mentorship programs through the school? And, did anybody here get involved in those? And so did anybody here get involved in any of the leadership coaching or mentorship programs at Sloan? There are a number of different things you can get involved with, from the Leadership Center through the Career Development Office, and as well as SWIM, which is the Sloan Women in Management Organization. They have lots of different kind of matchmaking and mentorship programs that you can opt into. None of them are required, but there's lots of different opportunities to engage in mentorship programs. And then similarly, as an alum, we will be asking you to kind of, volunteer to give back to some of the current students. The follow-up question to that was also if there were any veterans here and their insights about using this program to, transition, I would assume, to kind of a professional experience. I don't think we have any veterans here, but we certainly have had many veterans come through our programs and use our master's programs to kind of upskill and, create more expertise in an area that would allow them to transition out of the military. Okay, so the next question is, do we consider students with 10 plus years of experience The simple answer is this program is really designed for students who are pretty early on in their career. It's considered, a specialized master's program for people who have, on average, 5 years or less of experience. As I showed before, about 80% of the students are actually coming directly from undergrad in this program, and then the rest have usually, 2 to 4 years of full-time work experience. So the simple thing to think about instead would be to do the traditional MBA program with a focus on business analytics. We do have a roadmap, or we call it a certificate, that you could focus on within the MBA program, or even possibly an executive MBA with a focus on business analytics. All right, so then the next question is, this is an international student applying to MIT, and they're confused about applying between the MBA and the Master of Business Analytics program, and looking for a little advice. What about you guys? Do you guys have any advice to people considering MBAN versus the 2-year MBA?
I'll say that from my experience talking to students in the MBA program, they do have a few more years of work experience, and that's a lot of, they're bringing that back to the classroom to share with their perspectives with fellow students and with professors, and that's a big part of the course content. Whereas I think in the MBAN, as Jen said, we're a lot earlier on in our careers, and we're coming here to learn the technical foundation for what we can do later on in our career. So that's a little bit of a distinguishing factor. However, I will say that as part of the MBAN program, we do get to take a lot of business-related electives in the spring. So for example, many of the students in my cohort really loved power and negotiation, or consumer behavior, digital product management, communicating with data. These are all classes that you can choose to take in the spring if you want. And you get to interact with MBAs, you get to learn from their experiences and add to that classroom culture, even as an MBAN. So I would say if you're early on in your career, but still interested in the business aspect, MBAN is definitely a good option.
Completely agree. Great answer. All right, so the next question is focused on Anka, but I think anyone here could really comment on this. It's a pretty common question we get about, coming from an engineering background, how did you best prepare for the Master of Business Analytics program? Any classes or skills you might have tried to develop prior to matriculating? I don't know if you
Yes.
want to. Yeah.
I think I decided quite late on in my degree that I wanted to do the MBAN program. So what I tried to do was, in the final year of my studies, I had the option to take some electives, and I tried to tailor those a tiny bit more to what I'd be studying at MIT. So not exactly the same, but I tried to take some more like statistical courses, numerical methods, some more like introduction to machine learning, even my like thesis of end of year, end of a degree thesis was slightly tailored towards machine learning, and that gave me some like head start of what I could expect from this program, and I think that was really useful. I don't think I did much more apart from that, just like keep being curious and like learn, like wanting to learn about new things, maybe reading some papers, maybe reading some textbooks. I think that's always useful for sure.
Great. Any other general advice about preparation prior to joining the program?
I would definitely, yeah, go for it, Angel.
Well, after I got admitted, and then I reached out to some alumni, Anka and Emily, and asking them for suggestions. So I'm gonna quote whatever they told me. It said maybe some refresher on linear algebra. And also there are a lot of great resources out there like Coursera and MIT Open Course, where you can find related content that can better sharpen your technical skills, like, or maybe even math, like particular areas that you found difficult in. Yeah.
Great advice. All right, so the next question is this program suited for those with an interest at the intersection of data science and public policy? And what are some of the skills in this program that are applicable to the public sector? So I don't think anybody here is working in something related to public policy, or at least not yet, but we have certainly seen over the years, so this program has close to 10 years of alumni at this point. We have certainly seen people transition from a more technical role to a more policy focused role later into their career. But, typically you would need to have that kind of solid foundation of analytics or data science first, and then using that kind of operational knowledge to then be able to influence policy type of decisions. And, I know here at MIT, there's a lot of work being done with generative AI and policy, as well as, things happening at the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab. It's called CSAIL, as well as the Schwartzman College of Computing. And a lot of this work is very much in partnership with government agencies and, policy that's looking at kind of the ethics of generative AI, among many other things, how it's being used in healthcare and other things. So certainly there's exposure to this type of thinking and, opportunities to work potentially as a research assistant in some of this space while a student at MIT. But, for the most part, we see people going into kind of more traditional analytics, data science, or consulting type of roles immediately after graduating, and then potentially pivoting more towards a policy type role later. All right. So what are some of the ways in which the MBM program pushed you out of your comfort zone? And how did that help you to, build overall growth, or helped you in your overall growth? So examples of, where you felt you were pushed out of your comfort zone.
I think for me, I mean, obviously you're like pushed out of your comfort zone in terms of technical aspects for sure. Just like that is like every single day with like new problem sets, new questions, new projects. You're always like trying to think out of the bubble and really like push to learning more. But on top of like the technical skills, I think there's a lot of like personal skills that are also developed. I know like being surrounded by so many people that have so many different talents, have achieved so much already. It's very impressive, and there's this feeling of like, wow, I also want to do amazing things, and that just kind of creates a environment where everyone's really trying their best and trying like to do amazing things. And for me, that's incredible. Also, even I remember we had some classes where we were trained, like we were helped with our like verbal speech and like communication skills. I think that was super interesting because I had never taken one where I received so much feedback, just genuine feedback on like how can I construct my sentences better, how can I answer a question in a like more solid convincing way, or how can I transmit more confidence or maturity, and all of these things that was really interested, and I had never really had the opportunity to like learn about before.
Awesome. I just saw a quick question I'll answer. Do we have Forte Fellows in the Business Analytics program? And unfortunately, we do not. The Forte Fellow program is really focused on the MBA program, but we do have fellowships available for students who apply to the Business Analytics program. They're limited, but there are some merit-based fellowships available. All right. So the next question is about kind of managing your time. This is like the $1 million question we're always asked. There's so many different things happening. How are you able to, succeed at everything and balance your time among networking events, community events, and coursework? Any advice for that, figuring out how to balance your time or how to optimize what you're doing?
I can start with this. Something I will say that was helpful for me, at least with managing my time, is the fact that, at least in the fall semester, all the MBANs have the exact same schedule. So you're taking all the same classes, going to the same office hours, whatever. So something that was helpful for me was getting into like study groups early on, and just like all of us, we know the same deadlines, and we can kind of help each other solve problems. I guess looking at different perspectives like also helps to solve problems more quickly. And then on top of that, going to office hours was really helpful because sometimes you'll just be staring at a problem and you might be kind of stubborn like me, being like, no, I want to figure this out. But I mean, we have some great PhD students as our TAs that are always willing to help, and they have different perspective as well, which is really beneficial for just like learning. So yeah.
Great. Awesome.
I
All
think
right. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say one thing. I think a very important thing that I learned too during my program is not to get too like focused and stressed about one particular thing, like maybe a homework assignment or an exam. I know it can be very stressful because those are the main things that are related to grades and like when you're in university, the only thing you care about is getting a good grade. But at the end of the day, I would say my biggest recommendation is there's so much that you can do in MIT, and there's so many opportunities, whether that's like different like activities or meeting new people or networking events, or like there's so many things, even doing a project with like a professor or whatever. And my recommendation is essentially make sure that you like you understand your priorities. Like, what do you want to gain out of this master? What do you want to like discover? What do you want to learn about? And keep those as priorities, and don't let some like homework that you haven't figured out 100% of it like take up all of your time.
Good advice. As an international student, how challenging was the job market? I mean, I can start by saying the job market in general is challenging. It's not necessarily more challenging for international students, except, from our experience, most of the students that are international that come to study with us in business analytics are hoping to stay in the United States, at least for their first role. And so kind of that on top of, a challenging job market in general, can be stressful, certainly, but our career development team is really dedicated to partnering with you and helping to support you throughout your entire career search. This past year, the graduating class, a little over 30% of the students went to capstone companies. So that's a great opportunity for you to kind of get to know the company and get a feel for the organization. And about 30% of students went to capstone partners for full-time employment. And then another 15% or so also found jobs through the analytics lab class. So that's similar to capstone. You're able to expose and get to know a bit more about how companies operate through the analytics class and the projects that you work on within that class. There's lots of different paths that people take, but we do understand most students are looking to stay in the US. And luckily we are a STEM certified program, so that allows you for, up to 3 years of an ability to hold a visa and work in the United States. But do our panelists have any other advice or, suggestions?
No, I would say you're definitely right. Like MIT has really strong connections with companies. That's mainly because they've worked with them for like many years through Capstone Analytics Lab. And that just means that like these companies really trust students that come out of the MBAN program. They have a lot of MBAN alumni in their companies already. So it's much easier to just join their company because you'll have people that have gone through the exact same program as you. And they're just more willing to hire you, which is really nice. And again, there's so much support. Like every time there's a new job opening, we're told about it, we're informed, we have the opportunity to apply. We can have a lot of referrals too from previous alumni, which is very useful. So I would say like the job opportunities that we get are amazing, so don't stress about it. A lot of people are wanting to stay in the US and definitely achieve that. So yeah.
All right, so one last question that's been asked a couple different times, is always a question I like to wrap things up with, is, do you have a piece of advice for, people who are in the process of, navigating the application process or thinking about which master's program to attend? So anyone have any advice to share for our audience today?
I'd say that if you're thinking about applying to MBAN, just be yourself. I know it sounds cheesy, but really, MBAN really values diversity of background, whether that's like different countries, background of experience in terms of whether you have work experience or not, background in terms of what you've studied. So just be yourself and let your authentic experience shine through in the interview process. I think that's the most important thing. And then also come to MIT with an open mind, because you're going to meet so many inspiring, wonderful people from around the world, and you'll learn so much. So just coming in with an open mind and being yourself, I'd say that's the main thing.
Great advice. Anyone have anything else to add?
Just don't be afraid to apply. I know it sounds easy, but like I remember myself back like 2 years ago just being like, there's no way, like why would I even apply? They're never gonna take me. Like it's MIT. But yeah, don't not give you the opportunity. Like definitely apply. You'll see what the results are later on, but you would regret it if you wouldn't apply.